It was the way the fire flickered that night, casting long, dancing shadows on the walls of the hut, that told me something was wrong. I had always trusted Master Combe, the great witch doctor of our village. He was like a father to me, having taken me in when I was just a child, abandoned by my parents. Under his guidance, I had learned the art of healing, of calling upon the spirits for wisdom, and of connecting with the forces of nature. I believed, without a doubt, that I would one day take his place. But that night, I stood outside the hut, listening to him speak to another boy, Mosi. My heart sank when I heard Combe's voice. Mosi, the spirits have chosen you. Tomorrow, you will perform the sacred task. The sacred task. It was something I had been preparing for my whole life. The spirits had never spoken of Mosi before. He was just a visitor, someone who came to the village months ago, seeking refuge. How could they have chosen him? Why not me? I waited, heart pounding, until I couldn't listen anymore. The air outside felt cold against my skin as I stepped away from the hut, disbelief weighing heavy in my chest. This wasn't how it was supposed to be. I had been loyal, I had done everything right, but none of that seemed to matter. I barely slept that night. My mind kept circling around the same question, why? By morning, my confusion had turned into anger. If Master Combe thought he could simply cast me aside, then he didn't know me at all. I would prove myself. I would go to the spirits directly, without his help, and show them that I was the one truly worthy of their blessing. But there was only one place where I could do that, the underworld. A place no apprentice had ever gone willingly. It was a place of danger and darkness, but I didn't care. If that's what it took to earn the spirit's favor, I would face it. I left the village before the sun rose, slipping through the shadows unnoticed. I headed toward the great forest that lay to the west, where it was said the entrance to the underworld could be found. The journey would be long and treacherous, but I had no other choice. I couldn't return to the village until I had proven myself. For days, I traveled through the forest. The trees were thick and towering, their branches forming a canopy that blocked out the sunlight. The deeper I went, the more the air seemed to grow heavy with an unseen presence. Whispers filled the silence between the rustling leaves, and at night, I heard strange cries from creatures I couldn't see. Finally, I reached the edge of a deep ravine, its bottom hidden by a swirling mist. This, I knew, was the entrance to the underworld. I stood at the edge, my heart racing, but I forced myself to take a step forward, then another, and another, until the ground gave way beneath me and I fell into the mist below. I didn't know how long I fell, but when I landed, I found myself in a strange and eerie landscape. The ground was cold and lifeless, and the sky above was an unnatural shade of red. Shadows moved in the corners of my vision, though when I turned to look, there was nothing there. I began to walk, unsure of where to go but trusting that the spirits would guide me. As I wandered through this strange land, I came across strange figures, beings with no faces, dressed in robes that seemed to shimmer like the night sky. They didn't speak, but I could feel their eyes on me, watching. Then, finally, I reached a clearing where the air seemed to hum with energy. In the center of the clearing stood a tree unlike any I had ever seen. Its bark was black as night, and its leaves glowed faintly, as though lit from within. I knew this was what I had been searching for, the tree that connected the world of the living to the world of the spirits. I approached the tree and knelt before it, my heart pounding. Spirits, I whispered, I have come to prove myself. I have come to ask for your blessing. For a long moment, nothing happened. I waited, my hands trembling slightly. Then, the ground beneath me began to rumble, and the tree's leaves began to shake. A voice, deep and ancient, echoed in the air around me. You seek our favor, the voice asked. Why do you believe you are worthy? I swallowed hard, unsure of how to answer. I have trained my whole life to serve you, I said. I have followed every instruction, obeyed every rule. I deserve your blessing. The voice was silent for a moment, and then it spoke again. You believe that strength comes from obedience and loyalty, but strength does not come from following the path set before you. True strength comes from understanding who you are, and from walking your own path. I frowned, not understanding. I am walking my own path, I insisted. I came here to prove that I am worthy. You came here because you felt betrayed. The voice said. You let your anger and pride guide you, and that is why you are not yet ready. I clenched my fists, frustration bubbling up inside me. Then how do I become ready? What must I do? The voice was silent again, and then it spoke softly. You must learn that your worth does not come from the approval of others, not even from us. I didn't know what to say. The words echoed in my mind, but they didn't make sense. My entire life, I had believed that I needed the Spirit's approval, that I needed to earn their blessing in order to be someone. But now, they were telling me that wasn't true. Before I could ask more questions, the tree's leaves stopped glowing, and the rumbling ground became still. The voice faded, leaving me alone once more in the strange underworld. I stood up, feeling more confused than ever, but as I began to walk back the way I had come, something inside me began to shift. Slowly, I started to understand. All my life, I had been chasing approval, first from Master Combe, then from the spirits. I had believed that I needed someone else to tell me I was worthy, that I needed someone else's blessing to be important. But that wasn't true. I had worth because of who I was, not because of what others thought of me. I didn't need to prove myself to anyone, not to Master Combe, not to Mosi, and not even to the spirits. By the time I reached the edge of the ravine and climbed back into the world of the living, I felt lighter, freer. I no longer needed to prove myself. I was already enough. When I returned to the village, Master Combe was waiting for me. His face was full of surprise, and I could see the questions in his eyes. But before he could speak, I shook my head. I didn't go to the underworld for your approval, I said quietly. I went to find myself, and I did. Master Combe looked at me for a long time, then nodded slowly. Then you are ready, he said. I didn't need to ask him what he meant. I already knew. From that day on, I became not just an apprentice, but a healer in my own right. I no longer sought validation from others, for I had found the strength that came from within, and that, I learned, was the greatest gift of all.